Glory be to God. Welcome to the Kingdom Woman channel where living for God is made practical. I'm Mariah. Thanks for tuning in today. So today's video is going to be all about what we should do after we've been set free from sin or a stronghold. If you are someone who has been struggling with a cycle of sin, you are going to want to stay tuned until the end of the video. Let's go. Okay guys, so let's dive right in. So I'm going to start off by reading a scripture to you, and that's going to be Matthew chapter 12 verses 43 through 45. And it states, when an unclean spirit has gone out of a person, it passes through waterless places seeking rest, but finds none. Then it says, I will return to my house from which I came, and when it comes, it finds the house empty, swept, and put in order. Then it goes and brings with it 7 other spirits more evil than itself, and they enter and dwell there. And the last state of the person is worse than the first. So also will it be with this evil generation. And that is the scripture I'm going to elaborate on today. Okay, so this is what I want you to understand about cycles of sin. Because of our flesh, because of our carnal nature, there is sin within us. There's no good within us. Sin is within us. But because of Jesus, we can become righteous through our faith in Him and our trust in Him. We can consider ourselves righteous. We can consider ourselves clean and holy, right? But that does not take away the fact that we may still struggle with sin or be tempted with sin. Because as long as we remain on the earth and Satan remains on the earth with us, as in he is not thrown into the lake of fire, he is going to be on the earth tempting you with sin. Now, what happens when you get set free? You get broke free. You are free. You're free. You're free. You should no longer have the desire for that thing, and that thing should no longer lord over you. Because for you to be set free from sin and from a stronghold, it had you bound, you know what I'm saying? But that's what Jesus died to deliver us from. So we don't have to be trapped in our sin with no way out. Because of Jesus, we can live free. And He'll break us out of sin cycles, and He'll break us free from strongholds. But, you know, when we are set free, and because Satan is still on this earth, he's always going to come back to tempt us with that thing again. And a lot of times people believe that because they prayed about it once and they stopped once, that they should no longer wrestle with this thing, right? The difference is from being bound by something and being tempted by something is when you're tempted, you can refuse. When you're bound, that thing has control over you. You know what I'm saying? You don't have the freedom to tell it no. You don't have the freedom to escape that thing. Anytime that thing, whatever it is, wants you to participate with it, you will participate with it. Now, God breaks you free from that. And so that's the difference. Now, the temptation will always come. The temptation will always come back because, as we read in this scripture, once you are broke free, that thing, it leaves, right? But it comes back and it finds you better off than when it left, right? So it's going to come back, period. You're going to wrestle with it for the rest of your life. And I think sometimes people lose their faith and feel hopeless about wrestling with cycles of sin because they believe that if the thought about that thing is still in their mind, that they really weren't set free. But that is temptation. You know what I'm saying? And you have to tell that thing no. That's your responsibility. Once God breaks you free from sin and strongholds, you have to always be willing to tell that thing no, because you're free. But when it comes back to tempt you over and over and over again, it wants you to say yes, right? And when you say yes, or if you say yes, it's going to bring 7 other spirits with it, right? And that is when you'll end up worse than you originally were. Because if God breaks you free from a thing and you fall back into bondage with that thing after God has set you free, you're going to end up worse off, because it's going to bring some of his cousins. And they are all going to reside within you. And then, it'll take more effort. It'll take more of whatever you got in the first place to get rid of that thing and whatever it brought with it. So that's why you don't want to continue on with cycles of sin, because it's going to be harder for you to get rid of it, to be set free. It doesn't mean it won't take place. It will totally take place if that's what you want. You know what I'm saying? But I want you to understand the scripture and be aware of what you'll have to wrestle with if you aren't willing to say no. You know what I'm saying? Another thing I want to bring up is, don't let the fact that you weren't strong enough to say no to Satan stop you from having a relationship with God. I've been there, you know what I'm saying? And sometimes Satan could present sin to us in a way that seems like a good idea, that seems like it'll bring us something that we didn't have before. Joy, pleasure, excitement, whatever, you know what I'm saying? A gain of some sort. And he is very skilled at presenting sin to us in a way that makes us believe that we should want it, or we do want it, you know what I'm saying? Just like he did Eve in the garden. But this is why you don't want to go back and forth with a thing. When you are ready to say no more, let your yes be yes and your no be no. Be sure that you are ready to say no. If you're not sure that you're ready to say no and step out of sin, don't beat yourself up about it. You know what I'm saying? Because I've been there before. I'm willing to use myself as an example and say that I've been there before, struggling with sin, because I have. You know what I'm saying? And there is a time in your life where it seems fun. It seems like a good idea, but you get to a point where it's not anymore. You know what I'm saying? And that's when you should step out of sin, because you don't want to be delivered and go back and forth. But if you do get delivered and go back and forth, don't beat yourself up about that either. You know what I'm saying? Maybe you don't have the knowledge. Maybe you didn't know what the difference between temptation and being set free and, being bound. Maybe you didn't know what the difference between a stronghold and temptation was. So don't beat yourself up about it. You can still be set free. The thing I really want you to understand is that after you are set free, Satan is going to come back. He's always going to come back. You can count on the fact that he's going to come back, and he's going to always tempt you with that thing, probably for the rest of your life. You know what I'm saying? He'll tempt you with whatever he knows is going to get you to allow him to come into your life. That will never end as long as you live on this earth. And sometimes we think when we get set free and delivered that's it. That is it as far as you being bound, but not as far as you being tempted. You're going to be tempted, you know what I'm saying? And you may fail. You may open the door up and let him back in. I've been there. You know what I'm saying? It's not the end of the world. It doesn't mean that you can't go on. You may just need to pray a little bit more. You know what I'm saying? You may need to ask God to take your appetite away for that thing. You may need to communicate with God a little bit more so that you no longer want that thing. So that when Satan shows up, that you want to tell him no. You know what I'm saying? That's the place you need to get to. You need to get to the place where you desire to tell Satan no. And whatever prayers you need to say, whatever conversation you need to have with the Lord to get you in that place where you want to say no, you know what I'm saying? Those are the conversations you need to have. Those are the prayers that you need to release. It's not the end of the world, baby. It really ain't. I've been there. It's really not the end of the world. I'm telling you. And the thing about it is, the reason why I'm saying it's not the end of the world is because when we fall into cycles of sin, Satan is very crafty and very skilled at making us feel guilty and ashamed and horrible for the things he convinced us to do in the first place. He came and introduced that sin into our life, but then he'll turn around and make us feel bad about participating in it. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I want to encourage you and let you know that it's not the end of the world. People go through that. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's anger, lust, gluttony, you like to eat too much, you ate too many boxes of donuts today, you know what I'm saying? It's not the end of the world. Now, there are consequences behind the things we do. And that's why you want to get to a point where you have the capability to say no. That's why you want to communicate with God and get to a place where you can say no. You know what I'm saying? Don't feel like it's the end of the world, but know, you know what I'm saying? Know and be aware of what you're dealing with. We wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against spiritual wickedness in high places. And this is how Satan comes for us. This is how Satan tries to keep us trapped. This is how it works, you know what I'm saying? And he'll bring his friends with him. All right? So, I hope I explained well, but if I didn't, feel free to leave that down in the comment section and I might make another video just for you.